Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it together. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into all of these topics and sectors looking for potential investment opportunities, sharing them with everyone in the community. We've got midweek updates, which I'll be doing here for tomorrow. And we also have question and answer sessions where you can interact with me directly on the weekends. We can still use the discount coupon code. So discount is that coupon code if you'd like some savings. All right, guys, let's dive in, take a look, see what's going on today. We've got the DXY dollar index. We were falling. The momentum is still to the downside. We are up today. So we did have an update, 0.43%, pretty big update for the dollar index. But we've broken out to the downside of this rising wedge here. We do have support underneath us. This guy going across here, kind of crooked, but right through here, there's some support through here. So we have to break through that if we are going to see a larger move to the downside. The yields, which are generally a driver of this, the 2-year yield is flat today. We have broken out of this potential pattern here to the downside, and we'll see if there's any follow through. And that's going to take a little bit of time. Bigger picture view, we have come on up. You can say we've broken perhaps to the downside of this pattern that's up there. We have another consolidation and breakout to the downside. And maybe we get a larger retest that comes back here with rates pulling on back for a little while, potentially. Doesn't mean we'll get there, but that is what a lot of people, I think, are projecting to happen. The 10-year yield's up slightly, but the momentum is still down in the short term. We are above a lot of support. So when we look at this, we are still above all this support coming down here in that trend line. So we have to break through a lot of stuff if we're going to get yields to drop any sort of meaningful amount. And then 30 years in the same situation. We're sitting on top of things, and we've only pulled back a little bit there. For us to break through all this, we're going to have to start breaking through some of these support levels. TYX, TNX ratio, we are slightly down today, just a skosh down. And we're at a very low level where this could uninvert, come back up. And that would be a tailwind behind precious metals if it were to do that. TLT bond prices are flat today, not really moving much of anywhere. And we do have a little bit of resistance right where we're located. Resistance support. Gold's up pretty good chunk today, about $34 an ounce. I know we got hit pretty hard yesterday, and the thing that's weird is I kind of think that they're trying to hit this lower. I do. Because usually when you get pretty strong selling pressure, you don't get a strong buying pressure move right after. It's just weird. Anyway, we were up about $34 an ounce. Looks pretty good. We've had a pretty big run here. Nice little breakout here. Nice little breakout there. We are just ripping all over the place. So gold still looks good, and we can continue higher. Really good. Silver up 1.73%, looking pretty good today. It finished towards its closing, which is strong. So good momentum to the upside. If I were to throw something in here, I kind of see something that looks something on the lines of that, like a falling wedge that we could potentially break out of that pattern here with time. Platinum, we are still squeezing. We're flat today, still squeezing the corner here, waiting for a potential break. It's going to break to the upside. I mean, we're basically at the cost curve and or below the cost curves for platinum. So the way is up. We're running deficits. Everything looks good to go higher. So we're just waiting for this breakout. And then palladium down $8 an ounce, just pulling back a little bit after this breakout of this falling wedge. Still above support. Everything looks good. GDX up 0.9, GDXJ up 1.5 right on support. for GDX. There we are trying to kind of break through this resistance line, and then SILJ up 1.5% or so. I'd like to see some more buying pressure. I'd like to get through this kind of resistance line for me to really be like, yep, we're moving higher. I'd like to make a new high. This could also be a continuation pattern where you get a move lower. That's still a possibility. That exists in all of them. GDXJ, GDX, they all have kind of upward facing potential patterns. I'd really like to see some movement though for me to say, yeah, it's going to head lower or higher from here. XE to gold ratio just chugging along sideways, and we've broken the downtrend for gold and silver mining companies versus gold. We're back to support. Hope it holds and we can move on higher from here. But right now, it is incredibly cheap compared to history. We've got crude oil up 1.05%. We've got some support, at least near term, through this here. Support through there. We're getting that support. There's probably some more support through back in these areas all through there. So there's support right where we're at. We've also got more support at the 7150 range. So we'll see if we can somehow find a bottom somewhere in here and work our way higher with time. TTF gas still within its channel, working its way on up. Still looks pretty dang solid and good. What I'll say there. Natural gas in America. I know we've got some warm weather here in America. Did break a uptrend line here today to the downside. So we could see some downside. We're down at 3.37 for nat gas. Did get a little bit of resistance right at this upper end. You can see the wicks at the top, and we the weather is an impact for natural gas falling here. So that's what we're seeing in the short term. We could consolidate for the spring. A lot of the inventory has been worked through, and we're getting close to the 5-year average, somewhere around it. I haven't looked at the most recent data. So I do think that natural gas prices will stay more robust than previous years. Boy XOP, yeah, you know me, pulling back about 0.5%. We hit our head on some resistance. Oil hasn't broken out yet, and natural gas hasn't. I mean, it's run a little bit. A lot of resistance through these areas all through here. That's what we're trying to break through. So it's going to take some time. We'll just be patient for it to break through this area and have a big old run after it does that. OIH also pulling back 1.8%, hit some resistance, pulled on back, and that downtrend momentum is still in progress. Newcastle coal futures down 0.63% today, and we are still working our way sideways trying to put in a bottom for Newcastle coal over here. I do think it looks like a bottom. You've got a bullish piercing candlestick and small selling pressure. I think it's trying to bottom right where we're at. Raw Physical Uranium Trust up 3.45%. I know it was sold off pretty hard yesterday. Momentum is still down. That hasn't turned yet, and we'll see if we can try to get a bottom here, some sideways action. But momentum is still down, even though we had a 3.4% update. You're still inside this big candle or this big flag pattern that generally breaks to the upside. Uranium futures pricing pulling on back. Maybe we can get to the 64, 65 range. That would be one heck of a buying opportunity. It's right here if you guys can't see it. If we get back to this region here, this could be a false breakout, which then finds support and then slingshots to the upside. That would be pretty fun. URA up 1.77, getting some little bit of a bounce off support there. We'll see if that holds. URNM up a little bit, just like URA, and URNJ trading sideways. Not a bad price down here. You could have grabbed it in the 18s if possible. Copper up a little bit. We're trying to break out of this to the upside. I do think this looks like a flag, more of like a flag pattern that's consolidating slightly lower. So think of it as a falling flag, and that generally breaks upward. Bearish formations form in the opposite direction. They're upward like that. Bullish formations are like that. So that's how you can kind of tell if you've got a bullish setup. A lot of the times they end up facing downward. And then some of these consolidations, they can still consolidate sideways, but the flag patterns facing downward are generally bullish. and they happen in these moves. COPX down 3%. Looks like we are breaking to the downside, possibly. We're right on support. We'll see if that holds, or if we come back to the 36 region down there. We've got a lot of support. Iron ore down slightly. It is really squeezing up here. Buyers equal to sellers came on up, and it's just been trading sideways in that tight channel band. That generally occurs before a big breakout. You start to see everything kind of squeeze up into corners before big breaks. I think it's going to break higher based off the supply demand characteristics, inventory levels, all that stuff. So iron ore is looking decent here. Same with copper, looks good. Oil's doing something very similar. They're all doing the same thing. Aluminum squeezing kind of right underneath. What I mean by squeezing, you've got a flag pattern there underneath resistance that we're trying to break out, and we haven't broken out yet. So it looks good. We're just waiting for the break. And, we're getting lower highs coming up here, so we'll see if we get another lower high. Or higher low, I mean, higher low. Nickel up 0.4%, and we are just waiting for this thing to kind of work its way on up. And it's doing the big double bottom here. Move down 0.4%. We're getting up to some resistance area here, and we are getting a little bit of selling pressure. Today, down 0.4%. Emerging markets up 0.74. We have stronger dollar, stronger yields. This is kind of going counter what we see, but it kind of looks like a shoulder, head, shoulder deal playing out here for emerging markets. I think we're going to see this thing work its way on up eventually. We saw a nice big breakout here, but man, rising interest rates and the strength of the dollar yanked this thing on back. So we've been waiting for this big money, capital rotation event, money moving on up. But the plunge protection team's done a real good job of holding this all together for U.S. equities. KRE down 0.5%, but still looks good to go higher. We've just been consolidating there in that channel. CAN down 2%. Higher interest rates. I know this is pretty sensitive to interest rates. Looks pretty bad from a longer term perspective. We've just been dripping and dripping lower. That goes for anything renewable related. Solar, lithium, that's been having a pretty big pullback. We were down 0.83%. We're right on support there, support resistance. REMX has been falling back 1.4, right on support. That's also rolled over and really pulled back here for REMX and lithium, those types. Baltic Dry Index still heading lower, down 2%. Looking for a bottom down here. We're getting real cheap on Baltic Dry Index. Generally, where you can see this red line going across, that's where we're located. I mean, that's real cheap down here, guys. That's where the red line is. So I'd expect Baltic Dry Index to bottom at some point soon, and then we'll start shipping stuff around the earth again. And the demand is increasing. It's just the supply and demand of some of the ships. XHB down 1.65%. We're getting a little bit stronger selling pressure here. This is all going to depend on the 10-year yield. The 10-year yield was up 0.04%, but we'll see what occurs. And if it continues higher, I think we'll go this way. If it continues lower, we'll go this way. Wait and see which direction we go. This is a move up of a rising wedge, a breakout, and this could be a potential return move that turns lower. Keep that in mind, bigger picture view. That means interest rates are probably going up. Russell 2000 up 0.2, right on support, right above it. We've got the S&P 500 up 0.92, still above a lot of resistance support. Still looks good. The plunge protection team's doing its job, irrespective of all these rising wedges breakout, another rising wedge breakout. It's like, wow, it's staying up there. NASDAQ up 2%, trying to get above that resistance line and get back above it. We've got the SMCI down 3% and has been trading sideways here recently. We've got NVIDIA up 8.8. It's trying to get back above it. Plunge protection team needs to get above that if this is one of the big drivers of the S&P and NASDAQ if it's in it. So 134 is what we want to eclipse and get back above. BTC trading flat. Still looks good though. Still looks good above a lot of support. Ethereum down 2.3%, still above support. Still looks okay at the moment. The support line going across there, kind of squeezing up in this wedge. And MicroStrategy down 3.4%. This does look like distribution on this side over there. But we'll see again. For some reason, I am surprised at the resiliency of the Nasdaq and S&P 500 so far. They're very resilient. And then the VIX is down a little bit, down about 8% on the VIX volatility S&P 500 index, which means the S&P is going up. But that's what I've got for today. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. Discount coupon code is the coupon code for a discount. And you'll be seeing a midweek update being released here late tonight or early tomorrow morning for members of the website. That is where I share my opinions on individual companies, what I'm doing, what I like, and then the setups that I see charts. But that's what I've got for today. We'll catch you next time. Finding value.